Welcome to another edition of the McAnulty Method, where financial expert Frank McAnulty shares his insight and knowledge with us. We have a special guest today. Harrison Owen is Harrison's making a return trip. He's telling us all about cryptocurrencies and explaining what they are and what they're not. And Harrison, welcome back.
Thank you.
I have a one question that's come up, and because it's, as you talked a little bit about it last time, that the Chinese government might be creating their own cryptocurrency. The U.S. government has sort of mentioned it, but not said nothing too concrete. But what is your opinion on the government coming in and creating their own cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so the problem that I see with the government, for example, like Ethereum and Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin was initially founded on the idea of like just anonymous transactions and stuff. Well, I mean, it is anonymous, but it's not completely anonymous. But if you had like a government coin, they would obviously know your social security number and everything, and they can see where every coin goes to and track it. Unlike the US dollar, where if you go into like a supermarket and use cash, they have no idea that it went there. But with like cryptocurrency, if they had like a digital dollar, they could see where every dollar is ever being spent. And they could also, since they would have control over the whole supply and stuff, they could have functions where they could pause your account if you're doing something fraudulent, or they could just burn your entire supply. But or you burn your whole, let's say you had $100,000, they could just go in and burn it all if they felt like it. But the whole Ethereum network and stuff, the developers have no control over your account information. They don't know who you are. They don't know how much money you have, nor even if they did, they couldn't have access to any of that anyway.
Well, recently, one of the big controversies was that President Biden, or I don't know, the IRS or something, talking about going through having access to everybody's bank account with more than $600 into it, so they could see who's not paying their taxes. And I mean, we're talking $600, which is silly on its face, but that's my concern. Granted, the back thing is, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then what difference does it make if they know what you're doing? But yeah, I sort of like, that's my idea. If the government has an electronic currency, you can't do anything without them knowing it. I mean, you can't pay your gardener, you can't pay a babysitter, you can't pay a dog walker, because I would assume the next step would be to outlaw all, I don't want to say real currency, but what's the word I'm looking for here, Bill?
Cash?
All cash, all coins, all, everything would be virtual. Harrison, have you heard anything about that, or?
About like the coins and cash and stuff, or?
Right, them going away. They always complain that it costs more to make pennies than they're worth.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything like that, but maybe years and years down the line, I could see them maybe transitioning. Maybe they could start it off with, oh, we're not going to print any more cash. It's just going to be digital from now on, and then slowly fade it out. Since I think the lifespan of money is probably only like 7 years or something on average anyway. So
I wonder then if they said, well, we're not going to make any more real money, if all of a sudden real money would become worth more because it's becoming scarce. It's who knows?
That would be interesting. And then you just see all these eBay listings for $1 bills that go for like
right.
$20. That would be funny.
Along those same lines, if the government starts their own cryptocurrency, what do you think will happen to the existing cryptocurrencies that are out there?
I mean, I don't think it'll have a negative impact at all, unless unless like the government was like, oh, well, we have our own currency, and then they just go and ban every other cryptocurrency. Then it could have a negative impact. But I don't think people would. I mean, I don't think the price would go down because I feel like people wouldn't want the government to lean over their back saying, "Oh, what are you buying at 7-11 at 3 a.m." and stuff like that.
So it maybe would serve more as a stamp of approval. Hey, the government's got theirs, so you know.
Yeah, I think it could serve a good purpose because there are, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with, but there are currencies that are called stable coins.
I've heard of those. What are they?
They're basically, or they should be, but they're basically, it's like if like one token is equivalent to $1, and they should, and they're backed 1-to-1 in like a bank account. So if the whole ecosystem shut down, you in theory could go to the institution and trade in, 100 tokens for $100 minus, some fees or whatever.
Well, see, that makes a lot of sense to me because now there's something actually theoretically backing it.
Yeah, well, the biggest stable coin doesn't like to be audited third party, and they just audit themselves. So they're just like, yeah, we have all the money, we're fine. They pat themselves on the back. And then after a few years, I think I can't remember exactly. I don't want to get it wrong, but I think they got some like $40 million fine for not being officially 1-to-1 backed, but I think their market cap is like 60 billion. So they should theoretically have $60 billion of cash, but I think they're definitely not doing it as well as they could. But I think there's one that's $24 billion market cap that is actually third party audited and 1-to-1 backed.
Huh.
See,
Interesting
like I
stuff.
said, that makes more sense. At least there's something backing it. It's not just, or what's the Shibu Inu, the newest hottest craze?
Yeah, that one I don't know too much about, but it does seem like a pump and dump.
Hey, I bought $50 of that. I got over 1 million coins, and it's now worth over $100.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, tomorrow might be $200. Tomorrow might be $1. Who knows?
Oh, I know, but I had to do it just, to see what would happen because you don't pay attention to others, but it's like, because that's like, it's a joke on the joke coin. You have Dogecoin or Doggy Coin or however you want to pronounce it. And then that has a Shibu Inu dog on it. So then somebody just said, well, let's just make a coin named after the dog. It's like, so have you done any looking into which companies might be, we don't give investment advice here, but which companies people might want to look at that might be potential good candidates to make money off the Ethereum platform? The back end, the Levi Strauss of the gold mining.
I mean, I don't know too much. I think it might be controversial for me to say just because I do audit smart contract. So, I mean, it's kind of unfair for me to be like, oh, well, because I mean, it is a gray area. So I'm not even sure if it's legal. Like, for example, if I'm auditing like a new smart contract, and even if it is all public information, I don't know if it's legal or illegal for me to be like, oh, wow, this technology is kind of nice. And then I go and buy it. I don't know if that's illegal or not.
No, well, no, it's probably not. So it's probably, that was an unfair question on my part. I forgot that you actually audit these people. So we don't want to get anybody in trouble here. That's the last thing we want to do. Bill, what other questions do you have?
Well, frankly, my head is spinning once again. The cryptocurrency thing is far beyond me, but I have to say that Harrison, as somebody who audits it, if you think it's a good thing, that makes me feel better because I know a lot of people who check up on stuff say, yeah, don't ever do that. So,
well, I mean, a lot of this stuff I audit and I'm just like, oh, jeez. But some of this stuff is pretty good. Like, I mean, I don't have to give out like specifics on names, but this one thing I did recently look at was supposedly the technology was to look at it was supposed, I think they have like basically how a lot of cryptocurrencies work is they like newer ones, they have something called a white paper, which is like a research report done by themselves saying like the usage of the coin and stuff. So this one was saying, oh, up 1 to 3% of the oil supply or something is stolen every year off the supply lines and stuff. And they wanted to create something that would, track everything. So every oil barrel and everything would be just, tracked on the blockchain, so nothing gets stolen and stuff, and stuff like that. But there are some stuff I audit where it's just, I can just look at it and it's like, wow, well, this guy could get hacked for all the money on it.
That's pretty
interesting.
wild, though. That they would track all the oil everywhere. That's pretty impressive.
It's always, no matter what the technology, somebody's going to figure out a way to make money off it, and then somebody's going to figure out a way to make money using it for nefarious purposes. It's
Yeah, like for example, how I said smart contracts are immutable unless you put something in it to, change the code. But a lot of people just have it where once you launch it and it sits on the blockchain permanently, you can't ever change it. So that's good and bad because, like I said, if someone figures out a hack against it, you can't ever change it. And I think yesterday there was another hack for $130 million, something like that, something incredibly high.
I didn't do it, or I wouldn't be here. Now,
On the run.
this reminds me of something I heard yesterday on a call. There's a group that's now starting to do virtual notary. They've got a system set up where you do a notary over the internet. So it's got to be somewhat connected to this somehow. I'm not going to, I just heard it. It's because it's really hard to get a notary anymore. And especially when you're dealing across state lines and everything with people, but it has something to do with, you got to hold up your driver's license or your ID to get a picture of it next to your face. And it's got some technology that sort of says, okay, that's the same person. And you can click. So like I said, it's going to affect us, probably everybody, right, Harrison? There's no hiding from it unless you live in a cabin in the woods by yourself.
Yeah, I think that it'll definitely I think blockchain technology is definitely the future. Now, the future blockchain technology might be nothing related to currency values. It might just be for like tracking, medical things or oil, like I said, or maybe like livestock or whatever. Like, who knows? I mean, it might not be anything to do with money. But I think that it'll have some sort of long-term usage in 20, 30, 50 years.
Well, great. Well, thanks again, Harrison, for joining us. It's always good to see you. And when we come up with more blockchain and crypto questions, we'll harass you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have somebody who is out on the front lines actually explaining this stuff to us.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Frank. We will do this again. I don't know, next week. How about that?
There you go.